Some new functionality that's added into the numerical model of Whitson Plus is to add so-called pressure-dependent permeabilities. To do that, you need to go into the history matching module. You need to open the well and reservoir related data, and you need to toggle on this pressure-dependent permeability. What you will see there is that we'll have two different types of pressure-dependent permeability. One only for the fracture grid cells and one only for the matrix grid cells. And we'll take both of those for a run now in a sec. For those that are interested in some information about this gamma parameter and how pressure-dependent permeabilities have been implemented into Whitson Plus, you can read a little bit more about that here in the manual. But going back to this, here we have a case where which is synthetic. This is a synthetic case, two-phase or three-phase flow with a numerical model, and we'll see what happens when we introduce this pressure-dependent permeability. And what we'll do in this video is to check what's happening with pressure-dependent permeability when we only introduce it in the fracture, and then we'll check later when we introduce it in the matrix, and then we'll take a combination of both. So in this case, if I add a fracture gamma of 1 in this case, we should expect when I then control the well on bottom hole pressure that since the fracture is closing, that the rates that we're predicting will be lower than the original case. How much lower will depend on the level of the gamma parameter. And in this case, you see that we have only introduced a very, very small gamma, which for all practical purposes has zero effect on the rates. So we'll try one more time in the fracture, and this time we'll make it 5. And then we'll rerun the case. And how we can think about this, especially when it comes to the gamma in the fracture, is that the fractures will close with time, and as pressure depletes, some of these fractures are closing. In this case, when we're introducing a gamma of 5, we see that there's some more difference here. And the higher we make the gamma, the less of oil rate we'll essentially get. Okay, so if we make it something a little bit more crazy, so if we go to 10 and we rerun the same case again, then we'll see that we should probably get an even larger decrease in terms of productivity, which you see here, and then then it starts to matter in terms of cumes at end of history here. So then the fractures are closing quite a lot, but again, these models are controlled on bottom hole pressure. And an other interesting thing about this is also to analyze how it actually impacts our GOR profiles. So you see the higher my gamma in the fracture is, even though the bottom hole pressure is the same through time, my gas oil ratio actually goes down. The simulated gas oil ratio versus the real call it default case is going down. That has to do with that there's this additional pressure drop between the matrix and the well, and that's driven by this pressure dependent permeability term in the fracture. So in that sense, it's very similar to FCD. So the fluid flowing from the matrix into the fracture has a solution GOR that's equal to which here looks to be close to the original solution GOR. So it kind of delays that GOR increase that you are expecting in general.